Trump told donors he will crush pro-Palestinian protests, deport demonstrators. Just when we were falling back in love. Former President Donald Trump promised to crush pro-Palestinian protests on college campuses, telling a room full of donors, a group that he joked included 98% of my Jewish friends. It's funny that he would crack a joke in that room. Yeah, 98% of my Jewish friends in this room. I'm friends with the rich ones.
Jew? No, not the you eat, but Jew eat.
That he would expel student demonstrators from the United States, according to participants in the roundtable event with him in New York. One thing I do is any student that protests, I throw them out of the country. You know, there are a lot of foreign students. As soon as they hear that, they're going to behave. Free speech advocate here, Trump said on May 14th, according to donors at the event.
Yeah, no, he's fighting the deep state.
Yeah.
He's a champion of the people.
Yeah. When one of the donors complained that many of the students and professors protesting on campuses could one day hold positions of power in the United States, Trump called the demonstrators part of a radical revolution that he vowed to defeat. He praised the New York Police Department for clearing the campus at Columbia University and said other cities needed to follow suit, saying it has to be stopped now. Well, if you get me elected, and you should really be doing this, if you get me reelected, we're going to set that movement back 25 or 30 years, he said, according to the donors who spoke on the condition of anonymity to detail a private event. Trump has waffled publicly about whether Israel should continue its war in Gaza, saying, get it over with, get back to peace, and stop killing people. Major Republican donors have lobbied him in recent months to take a stronger stance backing Israel and its Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. They want him to go over and sign the bombs, the way Nikki Haley did. That would have been normal, right? The private New York meeting offers new insight into his current thinking. His current thinking is to say what the crowd in front of him wants him to say. That seems more and more and more to be his only way of thinking ever. That's why he takes two positions here. He'll say they have to get it over with and stop the killing. Well, get it over with means kill people quickly so that you don't have to do it anymore. Stop the killing means a ceasefire. It sounds to me like he deliberately phrases things in this ambiguous way so that he can be different things to different people, which as a politician, this is why I always say, he's not a good businessman. He's a good politician because that's a good political trick to have up your sleeve. Right? That what you say means things to different people so that they project onto you what they want to see in you.
Right.
And they vote for you. And that's especially effective when your opponents are as sickeningly horrible as the Democrats.
Well, that was one of the most striking moments at Braga, where he started out saying, yeah, in the old days, you when you invaded a country, they say to the victor, go the spoils. Right. And now we're so stupid, we just leave. But why you have to drop all these bombs on people's heads? It's terrible. Right. You should be able to take care of this with a phone call. So he's making just a straight out imperialist argument. And then he makes a complete dove
then he's John
anti-war
Lennon.
Argument in the same in the same paragraph. So whatever your inclination, you could hear if you're one of these people, why don't we get the resources after we go in there? If you're one of those people, you heard that. And if you're like, Trump's fighting the deep state and he wants peace and he didn't get us into any wars. So you hear that. You hear the second part.
Exactly.
And he just, one of the most remarkable things to me was the way he just kept playing on that American number one thing. He would win in doubt. You know, if you watch Honeymooners, the Honeymooners was basically improv. They would give them the scenario for the scene and what had to happen in the scene. And as a result, because they're improving, that's why they both have, Gleason and Carney, they both have certain bits they fall back on when they get lost in the scene. One of these days, they'll fall back. And you can see they're working through trying to get back to the scene. Trump, basically, when he gets lost, when it's meandering, when he's not sure what to say, we're winners. We're all winners. We're going to win so much. You're not going to believe how much we're going to win. That's his moment in the improv where he has to recover his train of thought.
There was one time in that rally where he asked somebody off stage for something. You could tell he stepped away from the mic and I couldn't make out what he said. Hey, can you get me something like that? And then he was clearly waiting on someone to do something before he went on with the speech. And then he launches into that riff. Oh, what a crowd, a lot of love here. He just
Well,
vamps
well,
on that.
well, and you could see, and he's just a pathological liar. I mean, you really saw that when the woman passed out. He's just
Yeah.
standing there saying, "Yeah, no, it's tough. Some people waited 2 days to get a."
Yeah. Woman faints.
Absolutely no substance to that claim at all whatsoever, and he does that constantly. Like, is he a pathological liar?
And just a
You know,
sociopathic reflex, I'm sorry, to a woman passes out of heat exhaustion, and you immediately, not more than 10 seconds later, hey, this is a chance to make a point about how many people showed up. This is an
right,
opportunity for me to aggrandize myself and lie that
right,
people waited 2 days
right.
to get here. Yeah.
Now you, in an accelerationist Andy Kaufman performance art spirit, appreciate that in many ways Trump is the reality of politicians with the mask ripped off, and that's really what drives them crazy. What, Joe Biden's not a pathological liar? He's been fucking lying about his civil
Right.
rights activism for fucking decades, and he keeps confessing that it's not true, and then he does it again. He just did
Right.
it a couple of weeks ago. Once again, made a false claim about doing something in civil rights, and he never did. So is Joe Biden. It's just you've never seen anyone who makes it as obvious as Donald Trump. That's what really bothers them. If it was the lying, they'd go after Joe Biden. Joe Biden in many ways lies about things of more substance.
Yeah.
You don't see Trump up there going, yeah. When I was marching with Dr. King, and
Right.
that time that I tried to see Nelson Mandela and they
Yeah.
wouldn't let me in. Joe Biden literally has said these things.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Falsely.
Yep. Yep. Indeed. This goes on, though. The private New York meeting offers new insight into his current thinking. Speaking to wealthy donors behind closed doors, Trump said that he supports Israel's right to continue its war on terror and boasted of his White House policies toward Israel. The former president didn't mention Netanyahu, who he resents for acknowledging Joe Biden's victory in 2020 and hasn't spoken to in years. Trump's campaign did not respond to detailed questions about the Washington Post's reporting. When President Trump is back in the Oval Office, Israel will once again be protected, Iran will go back to being broke, terrorists will be hunted down, and the bloodshed will end, Caroline Leavitt, the campaign's national press secretary, wrote in an email. Trump has repeatedly claimed in public statements and in interviews that Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel, which sparked the Gaza war, would have never happened if he were president. But he has also criticized Israel's approach to the war, albeit in somewhat confusing terms. In a March interview with the Israeli newspaper Israel Hayom, Trump said, "You have to finish up your war. To finish it up, you got to get it done." Again, this could mean different things to different people. In April, he argued the war was bad for Israel's image, telling conservative talk show radio host Hugh Hewitt that Israel is absolutely losing the PR war. Trump took a different tone in the meeting with donors. Instead of saying it was time to wrap up the war, he said he supported Israel's right to continue the attack on Gaza. But I'm one of the only people that says that now, and a lot of people don't even know what October 7th is, Trump said. That's a hell of a thing to just rattle off. Trump repeatedly listed for the donors everything he believed he had done for Israel in the White House. He moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, bucking decades of U.S. policy. He recognized the Golan Heights, which Israel seized from Syria in 1967, as an integral part of Israel after what he said was a 5-minute conversation with David Friedman, his ambassador there. He also polled the room if they liked Friedman.
Do you like Friedman?
Do you like Friedman?
Everybody likes Friedman here, right?
So I did the Golan Heights. That's worth $2 trillion, they said, that piece, if you put it in real estate terms. But it's worth more than that. It is, Trump said, according to the donors present. So I did the Golan Heights. That's $2 trillion. Yeah. Israel, Trump argued, needs his help. Street demonstrations for Israel get smaller crowds than his rallies, he said. In Washington, and particularly in Congress, Israel is losing its power. It's incredible. Trump and Netanyahu's relationship will continue to prosper and flourish if they're both in office at the same time again, Matthew Brooks, chief executive of the Republican Jewish Coalition, said in an interview. He's giving the Israelis a blank check to go in and do what they need to do to destroy Hamas and eliminate the threat in Gaza. And what he's also saying, which is actually true, he said, but do it quickly because time is not Israel's ally right now, Brooks said. So let's take a poll of the audience, okay? Just because it's easy to, it's easy to debate back and forth in different interpretations of Trump's statements. Does anybody really believe Trump is going to turn his back on Israel if he gets in? Does anybody doubt that he's going to crack down on student protests should they happen, which they probably will once he's back in office? That seems like the kind of promise he'll probably keep. I sense he'll probably keep that promise. And to spin this, and like I said, this is not an endorsement of Joe Biden by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not voting for Joe Biden. Wouldn't think of it in a million years. But I think it is important to be clear-eyed about how fucked we are in terms of this 2024 outcome. Because, if you kid yourself into thinking that there's some plot in motion at the Trump campaign against the deep state and the war machine, it's just absurd. He tells Tim Pool at the convention, yeah, I'm giving serious consideration to pardoning Julian Assange. As if it wasn't your administration that prosecuted him in the first place and then declined to pardon him on the way out. Right. And he told Candace Owens, I didn't do that because he revealed some very bad things about us.
Right.
He's a big shit talker. He's a big shit talker when it comes to all that stuff. His policy on campus speech is going to be exactly Biden's policy on campus speech. He will probably be more hostile in his rhetoric toward the protesters.
Right.
Yeah. But in terms of the reality, the same cops are going to be cracking the same heads under Donald Trump as under Joe Biden.
Remember how he approached Black Lives Matter protests. And now imagine he doesn't have the media and the liberal class against him, but for him.
Exactly, yes.
Favoring it. There will be absolutely no restraint to what he wants to do. And once again, libs, I don't think we could say to our liberal friends, I don't think they watch us. We do have some MAGA friends. I don't think we have any lib friends. Remember, we've been warning about all of the police actions that the Patriot Act makes possible. If you get a president like Trump deciding to crack down on protests under some of the more terrifying provisions of the Patriot Act, without the liberal establishment being against those actions, people could be getting Guantanamo-ed.
Yep. They can call you a terror. Yeah, they can do exactly what
send
the
you to
Patriot
a black
Act allows
site.
them to do.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah, no. Just a pretty desperate and dire situation. And that is pretty terrifying stuff. Like I said, that's why I don't like Donald Trump. I don't like Donald Trump because of stories like that. Not because of the Stormy Daniels payments or some blurred out words that appeared in an ad before they were taken down. Like this is the kind of shit you don't hear too much about. Why? Because as Russell said, the media's generally on his side about this. They may think, that's a little extreme to threaten deportation, but it probably won't get to that point. Just like when he said, we're going to throw protesters in jail for 10 years for defacing a statue, right? You draw dick and balls on Thomas Jefferson during the George Floyd protest. He's like, we're going to lock you up for 10 years. Well, no, he's not going to do that, right? That's just chest pounding. But he did have protesters swept off the street and thrown into the back of a van. We saw that on camera, right?
Yeah, it turns out it's probably not true, but I think the idea that he was into water sports really played with a lot of the public too. They shouldn't have knocked that down.
Which one?
That he got peed on by prostitutes.
Oh, the water sports.
That was very rock and roll.
That was rock and roll. Yeah, indeed. He could use that.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. Having gone to that rally, it was pretty much what I expected. I have more sympathy for the people who are just economically desperate.
Right.
They're just desperate. They just want to hear what they want to hear. They want to believe what they want to believe. But when you're talking about people, and they're out there, who make a foreign policy case for Donald Trump, come on. There's that element of people want to believe that there's a good guy out there that they can root for, and that there's somebody they can get behind. This is why it's hard for people to find their way to a post-duopoly posture, because that's very challenging to accept that the entire system is so corrupt that you kind of have to just fight it from scratch. That's very daunting. It's easier to believe, oh, he knew how to build the skating rink.
Right.
That's our guy. He's going to fix the country.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot easier than, wow, man, I got to take personal responsibility for my politics. I have to really think it through. I have to educate myself. I have to connect with other people that are really trying to challenge the system. It's much easier to just say, Trump,
Right.
or Biden, right? But it's all fucking nonsense.
Please clap.